Lisa Vallen, and I'm here today to talk about the Mushiboshi project, ethnographic preservation, looking at non-traditional preservation methods. As preservation professionals, we are always on the lookout for inherent preservation practices in everyday life. One day, my co-researcher, Miriam Centeno, was at an exhibit in DC where she ran across a scroll depicting the practice in Japan called Mushiboshi, or drying bugs. Scrolls of paper, books, kimonos, and other textiles are aired out in the courtyard to rid them of much of the insects and the humidity that are usually trapped in them during the summertime. This is a practice performed at homes and temples alike that is tied to the recognition of the changing of the seasons. We named our research project the Mushiboshi Project after this practice, since it illustrates an activity that has both overt preservation purposes, but that has also evolved into a major cultural and religious tradition in Japan. Preservation in libraries and archives has become a specialized field that involves institutional support for trained professionals, facilities, and supplies. The cost of this investment can be out of reach of the smaller institutions and personal households. The work illustrated in this research intends to start identifying practices, sometimes with little or no cost, that have been part of the cultural or religious life around the world, and how they can be applied and promoted to the library archives and the general public. There's not a lot of scholarly research out there about non-traditional preservation methods. To understand what a non-traditional preservation method looks like, we first need to know what a traditional preservation program is. Preservation and conservation as a field of knowledge has benefited from the passing down of the skills of making arts and crafts to develop ways to preserve cultural materials. However, there is little available literature in library science and in conservation research relating to the preservation and its correlation to cultural or religious practices. Searching for household preservation resources yield results on historic preservation of museum homes and national trust properties. These resources naturally focus on the maintenance of the building envelope. Many of the instances of preservation practices in the research found thus far are an accumulation of facts found in disparate sources in the library literature. A possible course for future research is to apply work done in other ethno-scientific fields, such as anthropology and sociology, to find successful preservation techniques that are associated with a cultural context or domesticity. These approaches rely on the capture of oral history. We are using the 2003 UNESCO Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, CIC's Framework for Preservation of Heritage Collections, and AIC's Position Paper on Conservation and Preservation in Collecting Institutions to help frame our research and analyze our data. We plan on conducting 3 surveys. The first survey will be sent to cultural institution professionals. There will be 2 variations of this survey. The first variation will be sent to institutions that we have identified as having their collections preserved through cultural and religious practices. For the first category, we will ask about their preservation traditions, and in the second category, we will ask about their present-day practices to see if their past traditions contributed to the well-being of their collection. The second variation of the survey will be sent to preservation professionals. We are targeting preservation professionals at different size institutions, from large research libraries to small historical societies. Our second survey will be informational interviews. We plan on conducting several informational interviews with cultural anthropologists. We believe that the cultural anthropologists unknowingly have data and information on non-traditional preservation methods, especially those based on cultural and religious practices. Our third survey is a crowdsourced survey. We are hoping to build a crowdsourced citizen website to poll the public for cultural practices. The questions that we will poll the public will largely be based on results from the first survey and the informational interviews. Ultimately, the goal of this research is to provide low-cost preservation alternatives to libraries and the general public. We intend to present the data to experts in the field of conservation and social sciences to analyze the effectiveness of the reported preservation activities and their sustainability. Once our research is complete, we plan on disseminating the results through scholarly and popular trade publications, as well as publicizing through library organizations. Thank you for listening. If you would like more information, please check out our website.